In the 3rd century BCE, one man's incredible transformation changed the course of history forever. He started as a ruthless conqueror, a warrior who bathed battlefields in blood, earning the name Ashoka, the Fierce. His thirst for power led to the brutal Kalinga War, a conflict so devastating that the rivers ran red. But standing amidst the carnage, something inside him shattered. The sight of immense suffering sparked a profound change of heart. He renounced violence and embraced Buddhism, dedicating his life to peace, compassion, and justice. This is the story of Ashoka the Great, the emperor who went from being a fearsome warrior to one of the most revered messengers of peace the world has ever known. His journey shows us that even the darkest hearts can find the light. Thanks for watching. A prince born into the most powerful empire in ancient India, yet despised by his own father. This isn't a fairy tale. It's the brutal origin story of Ashoka the Great. Born around 304 BC, Prince Ashoka of the Mauryan Empire was, according to ancient texts, not the favored son. Described as unattractive and overshadowed by his many brothers, he was far from the heir apparent. But what he lacked in royal favor, he more than compensated for with raw ambition and a genius for warfare. As a young man, Ashoka wasn't one to languish in the palace. He was sent to the empire's most troubled frontiers to crush rebellions. In places like Taxila and Ujjain, he earned a reputation as a brilliant military strategist and a ruthlessly efficient commander. He proved he could govern, and he proved he could conquer. His success on the battlefield only fueled the fire in his belly. He wasn't just another prince. He was a force to be reckoned with. Then, around 272 BCE, Emperor Binjasara's health failed, and the Mauryan court plunged into chaos. The question of succession wasn't decided by birthright. It was to be decided by blood. A savage war for the throne erupted among the brothers. The legends are chilling. They say Ashoka, driven by an insatiable hunger for power, systematically eliminated his rivals. One after another, his brothers fell, with some accounts claiming he killed as many as 99 of them to clear his path to the throne. This bloody chapter earned him a terrifying nickname, Ashoka, which means Ashoka the Fierce, or Ashoka the Cruel. Crowned Emperor Ashoka's ambition didn't stop at the throne. He looked at the map of India and saw an empire that was vast, but incomplete. He inherited a powerful legacy, but he wanted more. His gaze fell upon one last, defiant kingdom standing in his way. Located on the modern-day coast of Orissa, Kalinga was rich, prosperous, and controlled crucial sea trade routes. It was the final piece of the puzzle, the last major obstacle to Ashoka's dream of a completely unified Indian subcontinent under his absolute rule. He gathered his armies, the largest the land had ever seen, and marched towards Kalinga, ready to unleash a storm of violence that would change him and the course of history forever. In the year 261 BCE, a shadow fell over the eastern coast of India. Emperor Ashoka, ruler of the mighty Mauryan Empire, set his sights on the independent kingdom of Kalinga. What he unleashed was a military campaign of unprecedented brutality, a conflict that would forever be etched into the annals of history as one of its blood. The people of Kalinga, known for their bravery and love of freedom, fought with the heart of a lion to defend their homeland. But their desperate courage was ultimately no match for Ashoka's colossal, well-oiled military machine. The aftermath was a scene of unimaginable horror. Ashoka himself, in his own stone inscriptions, the rock edicts, left a chilling account of the carnage. He admits that 100,000 people were slaughtered in the fighting, but the true death toll was far, far higher. Many times that number perished in the aftermath from their wounds, from the spread of disease, and from starvation as their lands lay ruined. Another 150,000 souls were captured, torn from their homes, and deported as prisoners. Entire villages were burned to the ground, and it was said that the rivers themselves ran red with blood. Ashoka had won. Kalinga was crushed and absorbed into his empire, which now stretched from the mountains of Afghanistan to the shores of Bengal. He was at the absolute peak of his power, the undisputed ruler of the Indian subcontinent. But as he stood amidst the ruins of his victory, a strange and profound change began to stir within him. Walking through the battlefield, a vast landscape of death and devastation, he was confronted by the true cost of his ambition. The ancient texts paint a vivid picture of this moment. They described the emperor wandering among the endless rows of corpses, a ghost on his own field of victory. He saw the widows weeping for their lost husbands, the orphan children crying for their parents, and the wounded soldiers taking their final, agonizing breaths. For the first time, this ruthless warrior king, this conqueror of nations, was overcome with a deep and profound remorse. He saw not a glorious triumph, but a human tragedy of his own making. This single, bloody battle would not be the end of Ashoka's story, but the beginning of a remarkable transformation that would change the course of history. That single moment of awakening completely shattered Ashoka's worldview. The glory he once felt in military victory suddenly seemed hollow, empty, and utterly meaningless. He started questioning everything he had ever believed about power, his duties as a king, and the very purpose of his rule. Seeking answers, Ashoka turned to Buddhism. He immersed himself in the teachings of the Buddha, who had lived 2 centuries before him, and dedicated his life to understanding the path of nonviolence and compassion. But this wasn't just a quiet, personal, spiritual journey. Ashoka decided to transform his entire empire based on these newfound principles. He introduced a revolutionary concept he called Dhamma, a moral code built on tolerance, compassion, and ethical living. It was a universal ethical framework. It pulled from Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain principles, designed to unite his incredibly diverse empire through shared values instead of military might. Ashoka's Dhamma focused on a few core ideas: nonviolence toward all living beings, showing respect for parents and elders, being generous to friends and relatives, always telling the truth, and having tolerance for every religion and philosophy. He encouraged his people to practice self-control, kindness, and gratitude in their daily lives. But here's the incredible part. Ashoka didn't just preach these values. He wasn't just giving speeches from a throne. He turned them into real, concrete policies that were completely revolutionary for his time. He established hospitals for both people and animals. He had wells dug and rest houses built along major roads to help travelers and merchants. He planted shade trees and fruit groves for the public good. He even appointed special officials called Dhamma, whose job was to travel the empire and teach these principles, ensuring justice and welfare for everyone, including the poor and the elderly. Perhaps most famously, he had his edicts carved into stone pillars and rock faces all across the empire. These weren't just laws. They were personal messages from the king to his people, written in local languages so everyone could understand them. They served as permanent reminders of the new ethical path the empire was taking. Ashoka essentially transformed from a fearsome conqueror into one of history's most benevolent rulers, a beloved of the gods who ruled with compassion instead of a sword. His legacy shows us that true power lies not in conquest. Have you ever heard of a king who built hospitals, not just for people, but for animals too? Over 2,000 years ago, an Indian emperor named Ashoka did just that. After a single, brutal war, he was so horrified by the bloodshed that he completely changed his ways. Transforming from a fierce conqueror into a compassionate ruler, he established a vast network of hospitals and even planted medicinal herb gardens along roads for weary travelers. He dug wells and built rest houses so that anyone on a journey would have a place for shade and water. Ashoka took a stand against animal cruelty, banning religious sacrifices and restricting hunting. He even gave up the royal hunt, a long-standing tradition for kings. He wanted everyone in his kingdom to be treated fairly, so he appointed special officers to promote ethical behavior, settle arguments peacefully, and look after the well-being of all his subjects, from prisoners to servants. He encouraged people to eat less meat and promoted vegetarianism. But perhaps one of his most incredible acts was championing religious tolerance. In an age when religious conflict was common, Ashoka gave generously to Buddhist, Hindu, Jain, and other communities. He publicly declared that all religions deserved respect and that harmony between them was vital for a peaceful society. How did he get this powerful message out to millions of people across his enormous empire? He had his principles carved onto giant stone pillars and rocks. These edicts weren't written in a fancy, elite language. They were in the common tongue, so everyone could understand them. Many of these pillars still stand today, a testament to his incredible legacy. Ashoka didn't stop at his own borders. He sent peaceful missions to spread his ideas of compassion and nonviolence to neighboring kingdoms in Sri Lanka, Central Asia, and even as far as Greece and Egypt. His own son and daughter became missionaries, traveling to Sri Lanka to share Buddhist teachings. Through these peaceful efforts, Ashoka's influence spread far and wide, showing the world that for about 40 years, Emperor Ashoka ruled over his vast empire. But a profound change had taken place. After the brutal Kalinga War, he never waged another war. The man who once conquered through violence now sought to conquer through righteousness, through what he called Dhamma. His commitment to nonviolence was so absolute, so deep, that it shaped the very course of Indian civilization for centuries. He built hospitals for people and animals, planted trees along roads for shade, and sent emissaries of peace far beyond his borders. But history has a strange way of forgetting. After Ashoka's death around 232 BCE, his memory slowly faded. For nearly 1,000 years, this great emperor was almost entirely forgotten in India. The inscriptions on his magnificent stone pillars became unreadable. The script, a mystery. The pillars themselves were seen as curious relics, their true purpose lost to time. It was as if a giant chapter of history had been torn out and thrown away. Then, in the 19th century, a breakthrough happened. British archaeologists and scholars, driven by curiosity, began the painstaking work of deciphering these ancient edicts. Line by line, symbol by symbol, they unlocked the lost script and rediscovered the story of this remarkable ruler. The world was reintroduced to Ashoka the Great, not as a forgotten king, but as a visionary leader whose message of compassion was timeless. Today, Ashoka's legacy is woven into the fabric of modern India. If you look at India's national emblem, you'll see the lion capital, taken directly from his pillar at Sarnath. It symbolizes courage, power, and confidence, but also peace. And on the center of the Indian flag, you'll find the Ashoka, the 24-spoked wheel that represents righteousness and the eternal law of Dhamma. Ashoka's story is a powerful reminder that true greatness is measured by the land you conquer or the battles you win. It's measured by your conscience, by the positive change you bring to the world. He is remembered not for his conquests, but for the peace he chose. His transformation from a ruthless story is a powerful reminder that real transformation is always within our reach. It shows us that true power isn't about dominance, but about using that power with compassion. Think about it. A ruler who caused immense suffering completely changed his path. From the bloody battlefield of Kalinga, one of history's most profound messengers of peace emerged. He was a king who discovered that real strength isn't found in the power to destroy, but in the courage to change and build. This is the timeless legacy of Ashoka the Great. He taught us that the most important victory is the one you win over yourself, and the greatest empire you can ever build is one founded on justice, compassion, and peace. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe for more.